Hey guys, yeah, I'm gonna be doing this on the fly and unscripted. So anyway, I recently watched OTRS Central's video, Jeff's recent video, where he talked about the fact that all elite wrestling should stop taking shots at WWE and focus more on their own product, their own content, their own talent. Especially with the fact that at the end of August, they have the All Out pay-per-view, which is, as far as we know, the last major event before they go to TNT on October 2nd. Now, what Jeff said in that video does make a lot of sense, and he has a lot of good legitimate points. But I think there is one reason, though, that talents like Cody Rhodes and John Moxley, and even though they haven't worked for them yet, but they have made sporadic appearances in the very beginnings of their careers, that being the Young Bucks, as basically jobbers and all that. Even though Kenny Omega was a talent down in FCW and could have made a great transition to the NXT upgrade of it. The reason I think they take shots at WWE is because they're bitter. Hear me out. You see, this is nothing new. And whether or not a wrestler does this of their own accord, or the promotion they go to suggests that they say something about WWE, or suggest they take a shot at WWE, kind of put them down a little bit to show that they truly want to be here and not just be part of the company because they just want to have a lighter schedule and take a bit of a break from the vigorous schedule WWE had before they decided to go back. There is reasoning behind it, and sometimes it could be the promotion itself, or it could be the wrestler. If it's the promotion themselves that's kind of bitter at WWE, it's because of the fact that they look at the fact that no matter how hard they try, WWE always seems to be two steps, 3 steps, maybe 10 steps ahead of them every time they gain ground. It's like, if let's say Ring of Honor, just a bit of a metaphor here. Let's say Ring of Honor decides to do something that helps them gain 3 more steps to being a legit competitor and threat to WWE. WWE somehow, some way, despite the product right now, will find a way to gain 3 more steps above them. So WWE is like 10 steps ahead of Ring of Honor, and Ring of Honor gains 3 steps in momentum, thus lessening it to WWE being 7 steps ahead of Ring of Honor. WWE will find a way, like I said, despite the product, to add 3 more steps and continue their 10-step reign over something like Ring of Honor. The point is, that's how some promotions feel, that no matter how hard they try and how much momentum they gain, that despite WWE's current product right now or in the past or whatever, WWE always finds a way to gain a few more steps ahead of them. And that's why a promotion might tell someone, go out and kind of say this if they truly want to be here, and not just the fact that they want to be there because they just want to have a lighter schedule before they decide to go back. Because if there's anything I think we could take from, let's say, maybe Booker T's time in TNA / Impact Wrestling, was Booker T never said anything bad about WWE, never really took a shot at them as far as I know. Which is why I think TNA / Impact Wrestling, even though they might have a working relationship with him now in his reality of wrestling promotion, at the time wasn't too fond of him. Not just the talent backstage, but maybe the backstage personnel weren't too fond of Booker being there, because apparently he was just there to collect a paycheck and have a lighter schedule, and that was it. So you take a look at someone like Booker, and you would think maybe the company at the time when they had him wanted him to take a shot at WWE, but he wouldn't. Kurt Angle, on the other hand, that's kind of an up in the air story, because when he took a shot at WWE and he took a shot at Vince, you could probably say it was kind of a hybrid of his own doing and TNA kind of suggesting he do it. Like, part of that, shot he took at WWE and Vince was half of his own personal feelings, and then some of it, like, oh, I'm going to beat up Vince McMahon when I see him next time, or whatever. Maybe that was TNA. We can't really say. But the point is when a wrestler takes a shot at a promotion, most likely WWE, if they used to be a part of it, or a major part of it, it's because that's how they truly feel, or it's what the promotion wants them to say because they want to see if they are loyal to that promotion. They want to see if they're going to be loyal to that promotion, and they're not going to be there just to have a lighter paycheck. This is why, you have Jon Moxley, who was Dean Ambrose in WWE, say some of the things he's saying. Because yes, he does feel free now. He's got a little bit more freedom. But you can kind of tell that he does take shots, and sometimes those are of his own accord. But sometimes you could tell that maybe some of the shots he's taking might be All Elite Wrestling, and Cody maybe saying, "Look, say this, and to prove that you really want to be here." And there you go. So we could probably say that Moxley's kind of in the same camp that Angle was in. Like, some of what Moxley's saying is his own accord, and some of it is of AEW's. And the reason Moxley kind of is a little careful about what he says is due to the fact that his wife works for WWE. His wife is on WWE. She's a announcer on basically right now the flagship show of the company, Monday Night Raw. She's a commentator. So he is careful about what he has to say. Which is why I think sometimes when he says some of these things in these shoot interviews or work shoots or whatever that AEW does, sometimes it's AEW that's, people behind it, the people behind AEW, like Cody, maybe the Bucks, whatever, saying, suggesting he say these things, but maybe he's telling them, okay, fine, I'll say it, but I'll say it in a way that doesn't get my wife in trouble because she works there. Again, just a thought. Just a thought as to, why the wrestlers that go from WWE to these other promotions like AEW, say the things they do. The reason they take the shots that they do. I mean, Cody, you take a look at the Bucks, and even though, like I said, they may have had just a tiny brief cup of tea with WWE as enhancement talent, they're going to take shots at them no matter what because they're the best tag team in the world. And everybody pretty much sides with them on that. And the Bucks have proven that, I will say it. But the reason they take shots at times is because it's like, yeah, you say you got the best tag team in the world, but look what we can do, and we've been doing it all over the place. You don't let your teams do something like that, or whatever. They find a way to take those shots. Kenny Omega, like I said, used to work for WWE, part of the FCW promotion. If he would have stayed, probably would have gone to NXT. But the point is, he takes shots at times, and it's not because he's bitter or anything. Maybe he is bitter, I don't really know. But he takes shots, obviously, because he looks at what he's become, and he looks at what, he was probably there, and it's like, in his opinion, maybe WWE dropped the ball on him. But if he takes shots, and get this, Kenny barely takes any real shots, as far as I know. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. You can probably correct me about that in the comment section. But he barely really takes any shots at WWE. Excuse me there. And the reason being is because maybe he knows his future might lie within that company down the line. Can't say if it will or not. But, yeah. You rarely hear Kenny take any shots. But then we get to Cody. And Cody is the real story here. And to me, I think Cody's shots at WWE are more legit. Because it's been put on record, it's been noted and put on record that Cody, despite the fact that he's had opportunities, he's been a tag champ, he's been a U.S. champ, I think he was, he's been the Intercontinental champ multiple times. The only championship he never got was the world title or the WWE title, or even if he was there when they introduced it, the Universal title. The point is, the reason Cody acts the way he does and is more legitimate in some of his shots is because, and I say this with all due respect, he's bitter. He's bitter at the fact that WWE never followed through on some of the pushes they were probably planning for him. Or they didn't want to take a chance on him. I mean, there's numerous times we've seen Cody in WWE be put in a position where you think this is it. You think this is the opportunity. This is the shot they're going to give him to be the man, to be a world champion in that company, or be the WWE champion. And yet, despite the fact that it looks like they're going there, they ixnay it. But why? Why would they ixnay it? Is it because of the fact that he's Dusty Rhodes' son, and Dusty Rhodes took a gimmick that was given to him by Vince McMahon as humiliation to get back at him for counter programming, let's say Clash of Champions against WrestleMania, Starrcade against Survivor Series, stuff like that? Was it his way of getting back at Dusty for doing that? Well, a lot of stories I've heard suggest yes. But what did Dusty do? Much to Vince McMahon's chagrin. He got this little jest, this little joke, humiliation thing, whatever you want to call it, this polka dot deal, and he got it over. He got it legitimately over with the fans, and fans loved it. And Vince, of course, ran with it. He's like, okay, that backfired in my face, might as well run with it. And it wasn't until the end that they let Dusty, in a sense, start to be himself. But despite that fact, act and everything, every time you would think Cody has that chance, they're going to probably give Cody that opportunity, they ixnay it. And again, you wonder why. And people might say that the reason they never really gave Cody a true run, maybe not even Dustin, when he was in his prime, and still can go to this day, surprisingly, is because the fact that Dusty took something that was supposed to humiliate him and turned it against Vince. And perhaps the fact that Vince doesn't want one of his champions to be a Rhodes. To be a Rhodes member, because of the fact that by putting his championship, one of his main titles, on a Rhodes, it basically confirms that Dusty was the better booker and the better wrestling business persona than Vince is. And he didn't want that. So one could assume that, Vince, making, Cody becomes Stardust and all that, and then having, Dustin go through all these different gimmick changes during the Attitude Era and all that, was just to get back at Dusty because of the fact that Dusty, took something that was supposed to humiliate him and turned it against Vince, and Vince didn't like that. It humiliated Vince more so than it would have Dusty. And that's why I think Cody is bitter, because Vince still holds a grudge against the Rhodes family. That despite everything being patched up and the respect Triple H has for Dusty and Stephanie has for Dusty and all that, it's the fact that Vince is still bitter that Dusty Dusty counter-programmed these things when he was part of the NWA/WCW against his programming, and then when Dusty came over to the company, took something that was supposed to humiliate him and turned it against him. So there is legit. So when I look at Cody's bitterness, I look at someone that has legit bitterness. Things that come out of his mouth are legit. And honestly, I think that's the reason why Cody, mostly Cody at times, sometimes Moxley, at times the Bucks, less to an extent Omega, and some of the other talents there take shots. Because basically, if they had opportunities to be with the company, and then the company X-nays those opportunities, of course they're going to take shots. Whether it's legitimate or the company suggests they do it. And like I said, if it's the companies themselves, they just do it because of the fact that despite the momentum they get, WWE always seems to get ahead of them once more. So to me, it's all about, it's not just, so to me, in closing, I will say this. I do agree with what Jeff said in his video. AEW needs to focus on their content, their talent, and what they can do. They cannot focus on taking shots at WWE because that might work at first, but in the end it's going to take you down a road that you don't want to go down. That's basically about it. It's going to take you down that road. But like I said, so I do agree with what Jeff is saying. But in the end, when one really looks at this, the shots that get taken by these wrestlers take at WWE, whether it's by their own accord, it's by the promotion suggestion, or it's a hybrid of both. The reason they do it is because of the fact that if it's legit, like let's say Cody's is at most times, Moxley's is at times, and whoever else, it's because they're upset at WWE for not giving them the opportunities or the chances to do what they feel they could do right. I mean, Cody basically felt and believed that if they would just put that bitterness and pride they had towards the Rhodes family aside, he would have been a great world champion, and they didn't give it to him despite all the pushes. Moxley feels that when he was Dean Ambrose, if they would have just let him be sort of that Moxley-like character, he would still be there with them. And that people would want to tune in more. But again, in the end, it's basically part of these shots taken is bitterness. And I pray to God that they get this bitterness out of them before they get to TNT in October. So, that's all I can really say, guys. Check out Jeff's video on All Elite Wrestling, taking shots at WWE and how they should focus more on their product. But again, thank you all for watching. Comment down below. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And I will talk to you all later. God bless. Take care. I'm out.